Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here. Welcome back to Age of Empires Online. And today, well, after a long thinking, I've decided to actually update my Norse gear. I feel like there were some pieces of gear added, and yeah, it's not gonna be that much difference, I believe, but it's still gonna mean something. So yes, today we're gonna talk about the Norse gear, what I'm using, what I recommend, yada yada yada. And of course, this is gonna be without the buildings. The one with buildings is definitely gonna coming soon. It's definitely something, because buildings would be something I would repeat a lot. So for me, I think it's better to just keep a separate video for those. So yeah, you can definitely look forward to those. But yeah, today it's gonna be about Norse gear, and this is gonna be focused on their units. So let's get to it. And of course, we have a lot of alternatives that it's gonna be hard to cover, but I'll try my best to cover them. So, starting with Norse villagers, we have the Hammer of Kaveh, Tunic of the Collector, and Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine. So, nothing new really, but in case of Norse villagers, you have one advantage as the Civ as a whole, because you can use your infantry units to build structures, or I should say military structures. So you can free some time of your villagers, so you don't really need that much like Divine Hammer of Construction, and instead you can just focus on your gathering. But that doesn't mean you cannot build with villagers, and usually I still prefer building with villagers. So if you're using the Norse infantry a lot to build structures, then you can definitely replace this with like Delian Archon Hammer and just focus on the gathering while occasionally building some structures. But overall, you should have more resources with that. Although, depends how good Kaveh you can get. If you get like really good Kaveh, just go with the Kaveh. I feel the one I have here is definitely great with the gather rate. So if I had to switch to Delian Archon Hood, not Hood, the Hammer, but it would not help me that much. Okay, so I think it's better to just go with the Kaveh. You can still go with Divine Hammer of Construction, although I think you need to focus on building with your villagers, not with your infantry. Only like in some rare occasions you should build with your infantry at that point. But I still think Kaveh is gonna be your best choice here. That's my opinion. Obviously Tunic of the Collector, or you can go with is it the Roman Toga? I forgot the name. For the wood gathering, both of these work. Whichever you prefer, it's your choice. Of course, you can go something like cheaper villagers with the Ropes of Babylon as well. That is a possibility, but I still prefer the faster gathering. For it helps a lot early, it helps mid game, and it definitely helps late game than just the cost that helps you early game. Like most of your food does not go only on your villagers. You need the food for the tax aging up and your infantry, cavalry units, whichever you're going for. And Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine, because we need a lot of villagers. The more villagers we have, the more resources we have. And of course, if we have more villagers, we can build more structures with them as well. So less need for the Divine Hammer of Construction, in my opinion. But of course, you can still go with like cheaper villagers. That can be also a possibility, but I still feel like the faster training time is better, since you can have more villagers and you can just add one extra villager on food, and so you will have more than enough food for that. Or you can also go with the new added what's it called, the labor gear from Londinium. You can go with that way you can have more food, you get extra food conservation, and so your villages are more focused on the food gathering again. And so the time you save by not building the military structures, because you have the infantry units as Norse, that means you can get extra food thanks to that feature of the Civ. So that can definitely help, but at the same time you have the trade-off of slower training time, so you will have less villagers overall. So you can go with that, and I still feel like that item is good for your early game, because if you have enough huntables around, then the food conservation is definitely gonna help you a lot. That way you don't have to focus on any other food sources for a little bit longer. So you just focus on the huntables, they will last 20% longer, and so you don't have to worry about the food that soon, okay? And in the late game you just have slightly more efficient farmers, although I feel like the efficiency is there, but it's like 7%. It helps, but at the same time I feel like it's not like something miraculous that you suddenly will be like overflowing with food. It's just enough reasonable. It helps, definitely helps, but I don't think it's gonna be that great. I still think the Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine is just the best you can get on your villagers. More villagers means more resources. And of course, more resources means more army, more structures. And the sooner you get them, yes, the sooner you can start building at the same time. So yeah, that's gonna be that. Also, I should mention I need to keep this short because otherwise it's gonna be very hot in here. Oof. Moving on, fishing boats. Nets of the Argo. I think I was talking about this a lot. It depends on the civ, of course, but in case of Norse, you get the full fishing boats upgrades, if I remember correctly. Let me check that real quick. Yes, we get up to the net landline, which is really good for you. So you don't really need the... Is it the console nets? I think it's the console nets. You don't need those that offer you the highest movement speed. It's not that necessary. I think it's just better to go with the nets of the Argo, or if you have the nets of the moon, I think they're called, the legendary craftable, although that's quite expensive. It's definitely easier to get the nets of the Argo, or maybe it's even faster. I don't know the drop rates for the item though, so it might depend. But yeah, if you can get enough materials for the craftable, it's just gonna be easier to go with the craftable. So go with that one. If you have the nets of the Argo, go with this one. And then it's up to you. You can, of course, go with the nets of the moon, because the 1.4 movement speed is not a huge difference. So obviously nets of the moon would make more sense here. I just don't like the item, okay? I just feel like it's a little bit too strong for my taste. But it's definitely something you can go with. Nets of the Argo are also good. Those would be the two choices I would make. Then I have the Setred Sacrificial Arrows. The reason is the cost. Cheaper fishing boats. That I feel like always the fishing boats have one big issue, that's their cost. Because 100 wood investment into one of these, that's really big. But at the same time, if you can get them, you can have more villages on wood right away. So it kind of pays off on its own. So the cheaper they are, the more efficient you're in this strategy. So I feel like the cost is definitely strong stat for your fishing boats. So that's why I use Setred Sacrificial Arrows. Alternatively, you can go obviously with movement speed arrows if you have those, the late Hades arrows. If you don't have them, Moes is the way. Of course, there's the legendary variant as well if you want those. But I think it's just gonna be easier, and I would say good enough to go with the epic variant for those arrows for movement speed. And other than that, I feel like there's no other arrows that you could like even consider. There's not that many arrows for fishing boats. So yeah, either Setreds for lower cost, but for that you need to beat Valley of the Kings, so that can be a little bit harder for you as a new player, or you can just go with the movement speed, which is definitely good variant and definitely easier to get. Then I have the Artificer's Iron Plating. This one is from Moes nowadays. I still have the old version, the old icon, you can see it. So yeah, if you want these, you need to pay a lot of money to Moes, and then hope you just drop the item. So it's definitely not easiest to get, but it's definitely a great item. I don't think there's any better alternative to the plating. I don't think there was ever cost. I don't think that exists. And I feel like only movement speed. So definitely use the search tool and try to find movement speed. You can check out if there's any other plating, like with different stats that you might consider. But believe me, if there was, I would already be using it maybe depending on the numbers, but Artificers iron plating is probably the best. Think there should be even weaker version, which is not that far off with the numbers, so that should be also available. I think it's rare one. I don't remember, so grab that alternative because it should be easier to get. Hopefully, I don't know at what levels it is, but hopefully it should be easier to get. And then finally, Hull of Khufu, minus cost, damage, and health. Now, obviously, I'm not using fishing boats for fighting. Someone might consider using them. That's some different funny build that you could try out, but I don't really do that, and I don't really want to do that, to be honest. But yeah, Hull of Khufu, minus cost. Like I said, discount is very strong for your fishing boats. I don't think there's any better alternative to that. But for this item, we have the alternative that would be the Ashur's rather or the Solstice. Remember, the event is still going, so you can still grab few if you can. But if you're outside of the event, well, tough luck. Maybe you can find some on the global market. But yeah, these two items I highly recommend. Obviously, Hull of Khufu, the maximum discount. The Ashur's offers you all great stats. Movement speed definitely helps for long distance fishing. Training time, fishing boats take quite a while to train, so training time definitely helps a lot. And the discount is obviously great stat as well. So all three great stats. Of course, you could go with Hatshepsut's oars, that works as well, but it's better for like very long distance fishing. And that's what I'm gonna say. If you want more movement speed on your fishing boats, then that's only efficient if you're going for some long distance fishing. And for kinds of quests that I could say that you needed would be like Fabi, if you like fish all the spots close to your coast, and then you need to go further, then yes, that movement speed is definitely gonna be very useful there. But at the same time, you might even consider like taking villager, putting it onto the merchant transport and just build a dock somewhere far away. You could consider that as well as an option. And then you have like closer drop sites, so that would be also considered. But yeah, like I said, Hull of Khufu, Ashur's Rudder, I think these two are the best choices for you on your fishing boats. Caravans. Okay, I have the Merchant Log of the Nile, the Classic, Ropes of Babylon, the Classic, and the Ishtar's Divine Vine Classic. So yeah, I'm still going for the highest efficiency for my caravans, so Merchant Log of the Nile is the best choice you can get. Of course, it is a little bit harder to get these days. These items do not drop that often, I believe. At least from what I saw, I think I dropped some, but not that many, okay? So alternatively, if you want, you can go with the epic version. I think it's the Nectar-filled Merchant Log. I don't remember the exact name, but it's like the Nectar-filled water bag or something like that. So that's like the weaker variant, easier to get. You can go with the Tarsus Tasty Carrot. If you just complete the quest line there, then you have easy Merchant Log. And once you get the Merchant Log of the Nile, that's very good, high in stats, then you can just switch it for this and move the Tasty Carrot to your merchant transports. Of course, we have the new alternative, which is Cisonius Merchant Log, which is the new legendary craftable that's using the legendary materials. It's very expensive, okay? If you ask me, that log, and I was talking about it when it came out, that log in my opinion is better early because it allows you to train a lot of caravans in short amount of time. That's definitely good. If you want to get your caravans out faster, it's definitely more efficient at that. Plus it offers some movement speed, so definitely it's gonna be better for you early. But for the late game, once you have the number of caravans you want, I feel like it's gonna be better with the Merchant Log of the Nile. Why? Because it's more efficient. That means you don't need that many caravans to get the gold you require, okay? So you can definitely save more population thanks to this log. And if I had to say some comparison with like this being over 20%, you could save like, let's say I usually go like 36 caravans. So with the merchant log, I could go with 30 caravans and it would be more than enough. It would be the same value I should get. Also depends on the map, okay? If I'm not getting the maximum trade value, then yes, this is gonna be true. If I'm getting the maximum trade value, then it depends, of course. Seers offers you that little bit movement speed, so you can save, but it's like 5%. So if I had to use again 36 caravans, 5% out of that, oof. What is that? That's like, yeah, that's barely 2 caravans, okay? That's like 2 caravans saved. It is a difference, definitely. So obviously the more caravans you need, the better the merchant log of the Nile is gonna be, because that way you can save a lot more population. And so I still prefer the merchant log of the Nile. And as I said, the Seers is a new legendary craftable and it's very expensive to craft it, okay? It costs a lot of legendary materials, so unless you are like rich with those materials, then I would say, yeah, don't try to get that one. Better go like the weaker merchant log of the Nile, or just do the Tarsos quest line, grab the tasty carrot, put it on your caravans once you get the merchant log of the Nile. Or if you want the Seers, you can go with the Seers while the tasty carrot is gonna be there. So that's my opinion about the merchant logs. Now I'm using the Robes of Babylon. I just felt like going with the Robes of Babylon for the lower discount. Caravans are quite expensive, that's what I'm gonna say. They are quite expensive, saving some resources. I still need some number of caravans, okay? And if I go like 30 caravans, that's a lot of resources, okay? That's 100 resources per caravan, so 30 times, that's 3,000. Of course, if I save 11%, that's more than 300 resources in total. So that's definitely great. And of course, if we talk about the Seers, yes, you save a lot of resources, but as I said, you will need more caravans. And because you need more caravans, you still need to pay for those caravans, so you will have to spend more resources. And I need to keep talking about it, because some dude tried to argue with me about Seers, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so tired, it's so late at night, I can't argue right now. So here's my arguments why I don't like Seers that much, okay? I think it's a good item, but I still prefer the efficiency, okay? That's what I'm gonna say. Now, of course, Robes of Babylon, yes, discount. Alternatives would be like the Tunic of Turin for the maximum movement speed, which is like 6%. Not really that huge value, okay? But it definitely helps. If you wanna go with the highest movement speed, the more efficient caravans, then yes, Turin is there. If you can afford Turin at the moment, of course, you can get the cheaper variant at Moes, but if you don't want to spend time at Moe, then hopefully you can drop Robes of Menace, which should be easy. I feel like they were dropping a lot. Maybe on the global market you'll find them dirty cheap, so that should not be a problem. And like the value for movement speed on that item is not like that high, so even like the minimum is not gonna be that biggest thing. But yeah, if we have alternatives, okay? Robes of Babylon, you want the cheapest caravans you want. If you want movement speed for the highest efficiency, then Tunic of Turin or Robes of Menace for cheaper variant. And then, of course, Ishtar's Wine. So yes, Ishtar's Wine. I keep talking about this item. I still think this is good item for caravans. Now, yes, if you want the maximum movement speed, there's the Delian Hood, the highest efficiency. Now, I still prefer Ishtar's Divine Wine, because usually I go with like one market and just keep spamming caravans from that one single market. Sometimes I go 2 markets if I want those caravans out as soon as possible. Of course, the training time helps here as well. I just feel like if I go with like 1 market, 2 markets, and I just train a lot of caravans, the time I save with the Ishtar's Wine is just gonna be great. Like for every 20 caravans, I saved them enough time for 1 extra caravan. Come on. Or I think this is actually for... I trade 19 and the 20 is there for free, practically. Like, no time cost. That's what I like. Now, yes, again, that the same dude argued with me about this item with the Delian Hood. With the Delian Hood, there's like 3% difference. 3%. That's like such a small difference. Can you imagine? As I said, with this, I train like 19 caravans and the 21 is there for free. If I had a 3% movement speed, that's like for every 34 caravans, I get one extra. That's the difference. That's what I don't like. Of course, I could save that one caravan. That's possible, but I don't really care about like one caravan. I'm like, oh my god, that's such a small number. Can you imagine? Can you imagine like for every 33 like one caravan? Oh my god. But like the merchant log, if I can save 1/6, yes, I needed 60. Now I need just 50. That's a huge difference. Okay, that's enough. Okay, it's always, what do you prefer? It's always about your preference. Okay, if you want to train those caravans faster, you can go even Nebuchadnezzar's Vine. But in my opinion, markets are not limited by the build limit, unlike TCs where you have 1 in H1, 2 in H2. So villagers obviously need that training time because you have limited number of TCs. So if you want a lot more villagers, you need to produce them faster. If you want a lot of caravans, you just build extra market. You're not limited by it. You just build extra market. Of course, caravans are expensive, so you need a lot of food and wood to make sure you maintain the production. So you just don't go crazy, okay? Obviously, if you go with the Nebuchadnezzar's Vine, that means you need a lot more resources ready for you to spend on those caravans, okay? Of course, Ishtar's Divine Vine, same thing. I need more resources ready to spend on those caravans. That's why it goes really well together with the Ropes of Babylon, because now I don't need that many resources, okay? That's why I like this build. But yes, it obviously depends on you. Like, it's not that huge difference. Like, once you're in level 40 and you have those pieces of gear, yeah, like even the food wood is not gonna be like that big if it's in some easier quests. But if you're playing some of those more challenging quests, then I would say it matters a little bit to save some resources. But yeah, Ishtar's Divine Vine is like something between the Delian Hood and Nebuchadnezzar's Vine. You get those caravans faster, but at the same time you have some efficiency, while Delian Hood is going for maximum efficiency. So I'm gonna say, if you're going for a lot of markets, Delian Hood. If you're going for like 1 or 2 markets, but you still want the efficiency, Ishtar's Vine. If you just want those caravans out as soon as possible, Nebuchadnezzar's Vine, okay? Or you can just go a lot of markets with Doom Nordics, whatever. That's also a possibility. But yeah, these are the options that I recommend. Of course, you can go even cheaper caravans. That's up to you. You can go to get Dust Tool. That's also a possibility if you want to. Not that necessary in my opinion, but can help you as well. Okay, Merchant Transport. Now I have the Merchant Log of the Nile, Arrows of the Darkness, Artificer's Iron Plating, and Oars of Hatshepsut. So, for Merchant Transport, I wish I had the Tasty Carrot. I just did not get it from the Tarsos yet. I need to get there. I don't see it in my inventory at least. I don't think I did do those quests. Did I? Sorry. Yeah, I did not. Okay. Maybe I should do that. But yeah, in this case, I would say, yeah, Tasty Carrot is still great. It definitely makes sense. But at the same time, I can stick with the Merchant Log of the Nile because Norse have one good advantage, unlike any other civs. It is that their arrow ships can be used as transports as well. Their long ships can be used as transports as well. The same way, like they have the same carry capacity. so they can transport the units, and because they are naturally faster, it's definitely more efficient. And since usually you want to fight on the water if you're going for arrow ships, they're naturally there. Like, you can just use them for the transport. So they are there, they are faster, there's definitely better unit, definitely last longer naturally. So I don't see a reason to just use the transports as a transport, to be honest. So the main reason to use them, in my opinion, would be for trading. And here it goes. Again, it depends. Do you prefer the tasty carrot, or do you want to go with the merchant log of the Nile? I think it's easier usually to go. Usually when you go for merchant transport trading, it's not that hard to reach the maximum gold trade. But I feel like there are a few cases where you still are not getting it. So this one is definitely gonna be up to you. Do you want the tasty carrot? I still feel like the tasty carrot is just gonna be better, because it's not that hard to get the maximum trade on so many quests with merchant transports trading. Yeah, whichever you have. If I had the tasty carrot, I would just put it here. I feel like it's just gonna be straight up better. If I don't have it, then yes, merchant log of the Nile. Someone might even argue with the Caesonius. I think I would kind of agree with that, because merchant transports cost 150 resources, so they are quite expensive. They take quite a while to train, like 30 seconds versus 15 seconds from instead of like caravans costing like 100 resources, yeah, and taking 15 seconds. So definitely they take longer, definitely they are more expensive. So Caesonius here would make sense. But again, if you want to save the population, which with merchant transports might not be that big issue, to be honest, since you don't need that many of those. But at the same time, I would say depends. I guess it's about the same. Their trade rate is actually slightly lower than 2 caravans. But they are slightly weaker. Good question. I feel like this might be even slightly better for caravans to go with the efficiency than Caesonius, to be honest. But whichever you prefer. You want to go cheaper, faster produced, yes, Caesonius is there. Otherwise, the tasty carrot, I would just say stick with the tasty carrot. It feels like it makes more sense on merchant transports. If you have the merchant log of the Nile, yeah, then you can use the merchant log of the Nile. It's up to you. But yeah, I think tasty carrot or Caesonius would be my choices here, rather than the log of the Nile. Arrows, I have the random arrows of darkness here. Again, I would just go with the movement speed. I just did not go for Moes for those arrows, because like the efficiency is like 2.5%. It's not that much, so I just feel like not spending the time at Moes just to get these arrows. But yeah, that would be my choice. I think it makes a lot of sense, since trading is always possible with the merchant transports. Especially as Norse, that would be the main reason to even train them. So yeah, movement speed arrows 100%. You could also go with the Cetrets arrows. Those are also possible choice here. If you don't want them on the fishing boats, or if you just want to switch around the gears, then you can do that. But yeah, I think straight up movement speed is the best option here. Artificers, straight up movement speed again for maximum efficiency on trading. Like I said, I don't see any better alternative. Also Hatshepsut for maximum efficiency. Alternatively, you can go Ashur's Rudder. You don't get that high efficiency, but I feel like this is fine case to sacrifice a little bit of movement speed for like the training time and the discount. Huge, okay? I feel like that's huge, so definitely I can recommend this. But yeah, also Hatshepsut or Ashur's Rudder. And in some cases, if you want to, you could go also Hall of Khufu for just super cheap merchant transports if you want to. It's not necessary, but it is an option as well. So yeah, those are the merchant transports. Moving on, we have the 2 scouts. Okay, so we have the melee scout. Here I have the Hermes' soot-stained sword, Vest of Theseus, and the Sad Sash. So the main thing I see about the Norse scouts, since you have two, you can just focus one on the line of sight and so focus on the scouting, which is what I do with the ranged one, which it feels a lot easier to put the line of sight on the ranged one, and you will see the gear soon enough. So in what I do with the melee, I try to focus it somewhere else. So in this case, I have a lot of infantry armor, and before the Sad Sash, I was actually using the Noose Ball, but then I switched it. I think it was like last year I switched it for the Sad Sash. Now I could also switch it for the legendary Noose Ball. It would make sense as well. The main focus for this scout is like against the huntables, and so I kill huntables very efficiently. In this case, like take minimum damage while also utilizing the health regen. Really well combined with the armor. So I believe all the huntables do the melee infantry damage, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully, I think that's the case, that huntables do mainly the infantry damage, so it should be very efficient. At least most of them. I know boars like do melee infantry damage, so that's why I have the melee infantry armor here. Obviously, if I had the Noose Ball, I would just kill them fast. With Sad Sash, I survive them. That's how I describe it. So that's how I build my scout. If we want some alternatives, you can still focus on the line of sight. So you would use the Theas Xiphos, but you need to get it from Moe, or just get the weaker version, the red one. You can go, of course, the line of sight, but again, Moe. So if you want this, Moe is there. And then of course you can go the lands of the Sad Sash, whichever you have available to you. Again, it's summer event, you can still get the Sad Sashes from the Rakotis store if you have enough points. So Sad Sash is definitely available to you right now. If you're outside of the event, well, global market if there's any. Otherwise, Lands of Menace. Now alternatively, you could also go like pure tank and just focus the scout on tanking damage. So you could have something like, let's say, like Zahak's sword, you could have that. You could have Vest of Theseus is possible. You could have the Pierce armor, like Set's Best Vest. That's also possible. And then just Scout's Protector for health, or the Sad Sash for extra health regen. I just try to make the Scout to be a tank, and so it can soak some good amount of damage early, trying to survive as long as possible. Or you can just bait the enemy units, like, hey, it takes some damage, but it keeps running around, and with all the health regen, it will survive. That's also possible. That's what I would do with the Norse melee scout. So you have like quite a few options. Like I said, this one I'm using is against huntables. You can go just straight up line of sight again and just have the second scout for scouting. Or you can utilize it as a tank unit. Now, moving on to the ranged scout, I have the all-seeing bow, which is practically the only use I would have for this bow. Practically the only usage for this bow, to be honest. There's no other unit to put it on, really. The Xerxes, Sun-Blooding Arrows, Ammonet's Vest of Foresight, and the Sad Sash. Of course, I think this all makes clear, going full line of sight. The bow is there, the arrows are there. Overall, you just get more line of sight on the ranged scout because of the gear. You have the bow and arrows, so you can see it's more than 20% line of sight. If I had to use the sword on the melee scout, you can see it's barely 12%. So it's like 12% versus 20%. That's a huge difference. And the other two items, other two pieces of gear, they are the same. So if I go maximum line of sight, obviously the ranged scout is more efficient at that. So that's why I'm using the ranged scout with this build. The bow is easy to get, you just need to finish the Well of Earth questline. Of course, someone might have a little bit of issues since those quests are a little bit long and there can be some spam of units, so careful with that. But yeah, you should be able to beat that. It's not that hard these days, I believe. And it's just, you need to beat the base quest line. You don't need to beat the legendary quest, so that should not be like too difficult. The Xerxes, you need to get the recipe and craft it, or find someone who has the recipe and craft it for you, which means a lot of materials for you to craft it. But it should be available. At this point there should be enough players having this recipe, so it should not be a problem. Just getting the materials should be the problem. Amulet, as I said, it's from MOS, so it's gonna be very expensive to get. So if you don't have this, I would say look for alternatives. You could again go with like armor, try to make the scout more resistant to, let's say, pierce damage, so when you randomly take damage you don't take that much, and then you quickly heal up with the health regen. That's the possibility. Yeah, other than that, I guess you could go even like something like the Kitten of the Wolf, or straight up the Divine High Vizier, although High Vizier is very hard to get, so you would have to go with the epic variant, or just straight up go with the Kitten of the Wolf and just focus more on the damage. You could go at the Noose Paw and just quickly hunt from the distance, micro them a little bit. That would work as well. That's also the possibility. But yeah, I have the line of sight here, so I'm on its west, and the set sash, I'll still keep saying this is the best scout item you can have, because it's combining all the great stats: line of sight, movement speed, health regen. So see far, run away fast, or just keep moving around fast, whatever again helps with scouting. And the health regen will just help you keep your scout alive, especially if you're finding like wolves randomly and you don't want to lose the scout to a wolf. So definitely helps to have the health regen there as well. That's my option. Of course, still can go like maximum damage and just go hunting. That's also a possibility. So these two are my preference, the way I have them right now. Although I might just try the legendary Noose Paw at this point if I can get it, and just try it here and see how quickly we can hunt with this scout. But yeah, those are my scouts. Skirmisher, I'm gonna just straight up say one of my least favorite units. Terrible damage and somewhat expensive with the wood cost. So what I'm doing with them: Javelin of Sinew, Marduk's Shield of the Unyielding, Ashur's Quilted Armor of the Solstice, and Beorix's Finest Gauntlet. The only purpose of this unit is being anti-range, because their base damage is just straight up terrible. You will never have good damage with these. Never. Like, believe me, you are not getting, you're barely getting like 30 DPS. I don't think you even can get 30 DPS with this unit. If you can, it's like better, but that's just not gonna be enough no matter what. So what I'm doing with this unit is just straight up focusing like on maximum damage, while also being the most effective against the enemy ranged units, because that's what they do really well. They have very high bonus against ranged units. Their champion upgrades help them with that as well, and so I just focus on the ranged units. And like champion with this gear, man, they do like, I don't know what's the number, like 10 damage, but they do like 10 times against the enemy ranged units. That's huge. That's really strong. And that's just the base values. I don't think I have that low damage with all the upgrades. I think it might be just 8 damage. I don't remember the exact value, but yeah, it's very low. So yeah, Javelin of Sinew. Again, the best javelin you can have against when you're trying to focus against ranged units. Alternatively, you could have something like the Javelin of the Ice King, and in this case Snare would actually make sense. At least they have some usage against melee units, so that the enemy melee units don't run that fast. It would make sense. You can go Curse of the Archer, that's also a possibility, with the range buff to all of the anti-ranged units. I'll be honest, with Skirmisher, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened, because it's a terrible unit. Yeah, Curse of the Archer is even more efficient thanks to the range buff. Of course, Javelin of the Ice King also gives bonus to range, but it's not that high as the Curse of the Archer. So yeah, if you just want to straight up go maximum range, then yes, Curse of the Archer is there. Like I said, the main purpose of this unit is going to be countering enemy ranged units, so the range definitely makes sense as well. So these would be my alternatives. Marduk's Shield, I'm just going straight up maximum damage, so this is gonna be the best damage output you can get. Alternatively, you can go Shield of Rostam, and I don't think there's anything else. Unless you wanna like soak pierce damage with Pluto's Shield, which could be also alternative, but I just feel like there's no reason. Everyone's just going maximum damage and range, because why going even HP when you can just have a unit at the front line? And these units, you will never go like full death ball with Skirmishers. That would be just a terrible mistake. Believe me, you don't want to do that. Ashur's Quilted, this is just focused against the enemy ranged units. You can see it, like the bonus against ranged units is very high. So with this, you're getting like 50% extra damage against ranged units overall. So very good for the skirmisher, in my opinion. Pierce armor is there. I think they have good health as well. For a ranged unit, they start with a pretty good health as well. So the pierce armor definitely can be nice. But if you're fighting elite units and they hurt you, yeah, it's just gonna hurt. They don't have base armor, so they'll just straight up die against something like Beltast or something like that. And then I have the Bjork's Finest Gauntlets. And this is the same one I was using in my previous video. You can still check it out. I'm just gonna put the old into the name of the video, so you can just know that it's the older one. But yeah, I still have this Bjork's Finest Gauntlets. The newest ones are just more efficient. I just have this as a relic. Okay, it's a piece of relic. It has some value. Okay, it's it has some value. I cannot sell it, but it has some value. As a very old unique item. Okay, but yeah, Bjork's Finest Gauntlets. Why? Because those skirmishers cost a lot of goddamn wood. Like one of these costs what? This was actually nerfed. I believe, if I remember, they were 45 wood. I think this was changed, which is a good change, but still, for a unit that serves only one purpose, still very high cost in my opinion. So I just feel like it's better to go with the Bjork's Gauntlets. Again, it's just gonna be a unit that you are using early. There's no other reason to use them anymore later. Wait, they have 4.5 base damage against ranged? What? I thought it was 3.5. They must have changed that. I saw it was lower. Oof. Well, at least they're good at something. But yeah, cheaper costs, so I can afford them early. I'm gonna use them early only, so if I wanna use them early, I just wanna make sure they are affordable and I'm not spending like 50 wood just to get one of these units. Like, there's no reason for me to go with this. I can just go straight up throwing axemen or just straight up build a tower, and it would be better and more efficient way to spend resources. So I'm just trying to make them as cheap as possible, so I can just feel like my resources were not a waste. Okay, that's the whole thing about skirmishers. That's how I see them. Hardjars. Okay, Zach's axe, Pluto's Blessed War Shield, Breastplate of Gilgamesh, and Master Assassin's Gauntlets. So Hardjars are very high armor units. If you just take a look at their infantry armor, they start low, but with the champion upgrade granting them extra 50%, they end up with a really good infantry armor. Very good, and that's their main purpose, being effective against infantry. So yes, HP regen definitely helps you there as well. And not only that, also you have H3 advisor, so if you want your Hardjars to be more resilient against pierce damage, crush damage, and splash damage, you can use the H3 advisor, and then again the health regen here works really well. Alternatively, you can just go pure health with the Axe of the Ice King, or alternative, whichever you find. But yeah, these two would be my alternatives. I feel like if I just, you could also argue with like champion's axe. That's also a possibility. Going like super heavy anti-infantry. That's also a possibility. But I feel like archers don't really need that much. They are good tanks, but I feel like they're good tanks against infantry, good tanks against pierce damage, but cavalry will just destroy them. Oof, that's what I don't like. Makes me sad a little bit. But they are good tanks. They're good tanks. I like them really well put together with the log throwers because they make a really good tank for like good backline. But like for them, a good backline. What is really a good backline for them? Because I could go with, let's say, Bowmen. But if I go Huskarls, what would be my H3 advisor choice? That's like one of the issues I have with this unit. Like if I go damn and try to add Bowman, well, that's the problem. Like I could go maximum range Bowman or more tanky Huskarls, both very useful, but the other unit without it is a little bit bad. So that's a little bit harder. Skirmishers, straight up skip. I could go with like throwing axemen. That would make more sense, to be honest. But at the same time, I'm just focusing on the infantry, and now I'm a little bit lacking with no bonus against the structures, which is kind of bad. But I guess it would be okay. Maybe I could try that. But then you also have Bjorn H4, which works well with the Spearmen and not Huskarls. Yeah, I just feel like log throwers are the best backline for the Huskarls. So Huskarls just focus on the tank. So yeah, HP regen to keep them alive or health to keep them alive. Pluto's Blessed War Shield, I think this is a good alternative. But with the advisor, actually, I feel like I could go with some other shield. I'm thinking of like Kukulkan because, as I said, cavalry is like the biggest pain for Huskarls. I don't know if you've ever tried fighting like cataphracts or lancers with Huskarls, and Huskarls are very expensive, so I would prefer to keep them alive. I feel like I might actually change the shield for Kukulkan and be like, see what happens. I feel like that would be my alternative. I have the Gilgamesh. I think Rostam would make more sense. As I said, they are good tanks. I think they're doing good job against infantry already. So I feel like I should change that. I was experimenting a little bit with Esfandia, and I'll try to explain why Esfandia in the future. I'll see when. But yeah, I was experimenting with this a little bit. I feel like Rostam might be better choice. I feel like you could go also with Celeste, but that means there should be a lot of siege with crash damage. So that would be like really good only in Elite Mid in Creed, I feel like. The advisor already is doing more than enough for that. So I feel like there would be no need for Celeste that much. But for Elite Mid in Creed, that could be interesting. I should try that sometime. If I get the Celeste here. Yeah, I just feel a little bit weird here. I could also go the breastplate of Alexandra here. Just focus them more on the damage. Which is nice, definitely helps killing enemy units faster. But at the same time, I feel like they might be dying a little bit too fast. Sometimes I feel like they're dying too fast and I don't know why. But they are super expensive. I just feel like they serve better as a tank and just try to keep them alive for your backline, which should be log throwers, in my opinion. Yeah, I feel like there are alternatives. Master Assassin, I don't think I have to explain. It's just making them very efficient in the late game. You could also go with Bjork's gauntlets, just make them cheap, but at the same time you're losing the health. So I don't feel like it's gonna make that huge difference there. Who knows? Plus you're losing the damage. I still feel like Master Assassin's Gauntlet is just gonna be better for the late game. Bjork's would be better for the early game. Of course, you can go the Ice King's Griefs as well. Do I have some here? I don't see them. I don't see them. Either I'm blind. Oh, wait, there's some. There's one. You could go with this and just give them more health, more movement speed. That could work as well. I feel like I had some here that I was using. I don't remember where it is. That's unfortunate. Well, whatever. But yeah, this is my hardcore build. I feel like I'm still gonna experiment a little bit more. For now, what I'm trying to experiment with is Esfandiar. Maybe switch it a little bit here. Maybe I'll get a cuckoo line and put it here and see how that works out. I'll see definitely about hardcores a little bit more. I'm just gonna say they feel a lot better as a tank unit, to be honest, than just trying to go like mixture of defense and damage. I think they work the best this way. Okay, moving on. Berserkers. I have the Axe of the Ice King. Sometimes I switch it with the Zahak's Axe. That's also possible. Sets Best West and Master Assassin's Gauntlet. Again, I'm just not gonna explain the Master Assassin. It's just gonna be the same. But yeah. Why I have Berserkers a little bit more defensive? Because Berserkers are like, they can soak some damage. They have good health. They have some okay armor. But again, if you keep losing them, that means you just spend a lot of gold, and that means you will need a lot more caravans, and that's kind of annoying because now if you have more caravans, that means less population on your berserkers. So small army. That's why I feel like it's just better to make them more defensive, making sure you don't lose that many, and so I prefer using the Axe of the Ice King, occasionally switching for the Zahak's Axe. But yeah, giving them more health definitely helps. Giving them Sets Best West for the armor, so they survive a lot of damage, which goes really well together with their base health regen from the champion upgrade. And again, if you just put in the Zahak's Axe, it works really well. They have some good base armor, okay? You don't have to use Sets Best West. You can go, let's say, Actaon. Yes, you can go with the bonus damage protection, which definitely helps a lot as well. You can go with the Theseus if you are more worried about the infantry. You can go the summer event for cavalry armor if you are worried about cavalry. Usually you should not be worried about cavalry, but in some cases it could be a problem. So it can be okay alternative. You can go pure health if you want to, but I feel like it's just better to go with the armor and put it together with their HP regen. If you feel like more offensive, you can go Kitten of the Wolf. It's also possible. And just straight up obliterate the enemy army. If you put it together with the Axe of the Ice King, it's just gonna combine well together, having like both health and damage. Although I kinda don't like that Kitten of the Wolf has like these low stats, like a lot lower health than, let's say, Sets Best West, like with all these numbers. Like this feels like underperforming a little bit. But when I used this on Berserkers, it actually felt okay. It was not the worst, to be honest. Berserkers still can take some damage on their own. But I still suggest you combine them with the Chief, so they survive even longer and you don't have to waste that many resources on them, okay? But yeah, these are my Berserkers. This is what I recommend. Slightly more defensive. You have the alternatives. For the Axe, if you're going more offensive, you can go double-edged. Now, someone might argue, hey, they do splash damage and crit is not being applied on their splash damage. That's true. So either you can go Amun's Axe, or maybe some other axe with like bonus against infantry, for example. You could do that as well. You could go with those, and that way the splash damage would definitely do a lot more damage. But at the same time, look at the damage of what Berserker does. And like with the double edge, you will be like 120 damage DPS. Can you imagine that hit just applying a critical hit? Like, come on, that's a brutal damage against that single target. So yeah, the critical hit chance is more like focused against the single target, while higher base damage is just focused on the splash overall. You're not always fighting group of units, and they are not always like in this one bunch clumped up together. Like, I feel like double edged can be used as well, although I still prefer Berserkers built more defensively. Okay, but yeah, again, we have choices here. Moving on, Ulfhedin, or whatever you read it. So I never really liked Ulfhedins. I feel like they are, I would say they are brutal against ranged units, but that's all they do. Like, and they need to get to those ranged units. Otherwise, they are like, they do okay melee damage, but never feel worth enough for me to use. That's how I would say it. They never felt worth enough to use. They feel good if you can like flank the enemy ranged units and just obliterate them there, because they will just obliterate them with their 6 times bonus against them. Like, that's huge, okay? But like in general, I don't like Ulfhedins, so I prefer using them like if I want to kill priest bosses. That's what I do really well, and so I put the medals of the cookers here. So yeah, my gear: Light Spear of the Piercing Frost, Tunic of Actaeon, and Medal of the Cookers. Of course, there are definitely alternatives to them. You could again just go Master Assassin Gauntlets, but what I do with the Ulfhedins usually, I try to make them into the priest killing bosses. Oh, sorry, I said it wrong. Killing priest bosses. So yeah, they are focused on that mainly. Although I think I should use some different light spear for that. I think the light spear of Rostam for maximum damage output. I mean, I'll be fighting mainly priest bosses, okay? So they will not do the damage. So I can just go pure damage for that and just go with the spear of Rostam and straight up maximum damage efficiency. I could have like Zalk's light spear there as well, just in case they take some pierce damage from defensive structures. That's also possible. But I was also thinking about the Set's light spear of the Solstice, like having the health, having the damage, and also moving fast. But this would be like more general. If I decide to go with them and fight normal army, I feel like I might just switch for the Set's light spear, because their health is not the highest, I'll be honest. Damage wise, I feel like they're okay. But again, it would depend on the save. If I had to fight like a lot of anti-infantry units, then I guess the Piercing Frost would make more sense. I don't know, I never really liked Ulfhedins, to be honest. If I had to just stick with something, it would be the Piercing Frost. So when I fight some units, then it should definitely help a lot. Having the extra health there as well would be nice a lot for them to survive longer. Actaeon is there. I think it makes sense. Alternatively, I could go like Set's Best Vest, Theseus. I could go with the Set's Kitten from the summer event. I would have these alternatives. And then also I could just focus on the damage and put the Kitten of the Wolf on them. Like, again, the choices are there. It's up to you to choose. Do you want more defensive or more like bruiser style, like health and damage? That would be up to you. And then yes, medals, because I want to fight the priest bosses mainly with these guys. I just don't find them that good, to be honest. I never liked them. I feel like they have this weird attack animation. Once the unit dies or they just stop attacking, they will not attack again for quite a while if they just change the target, and it's super annoying. I feel like they also have like these weird hitboxes, like they are a little bit larger in size than they actually look, which I feel like that might be the case here. I don't remember. I don't go with them that often, but I feel like they are a little bit larger than they should be. Yeah, I don't like wolf aliens to be honest, but yeah, this would be my choice. Although, more like this for the priest killing. Even like this. Probably even better to go like this. But yeah, I have them like this. Okay, moving on. Chief. Before I start with the chief, yes, you have only one chief, so I feel like going for something like discounts or worry about cost should not be a problem about chiefs, okay, right away. And usually I feel like it's better just keep him behind, standing there and just buffing my units. I don't really want him to get into the action that much. So just keep him behind, buff the units. But of course, depends on the player. So, what I have here. Double-edged axe, breastplate of Alexander, and master assassin gauntlet. Now this is actually a remnant from the old Beoric's buff, where he was buffing the chief to apply plus 100% damage. 100%, yes, literally you had Beoric's and it would be double damage for your chiefs. And this is what I was doing because, let's just say, seeing the chief smashing with the hammer because of the critical hit and just doing 1000 damage with that one hit, oof. That felt really good. I like that. I'm missing that, to be honest. It was beautiful just seeing that one swing of a hammer, 1000 damage. Yes, beautiful. I missed that. Well, now it's 500. What can I do about it? Doesn't feel that good, but yes, I have this build. It's usually like the remnant. It still is not bad. Like 500, like on one critical hit, that's a lot. Preferably if they don't have the armor, so the damage is actually seen. But otherwise, there's the armor and it's definitely lower. But yeah, if there's any enemy unit attacking my chief, so I want the chief to kill that unit as soon as possible. That's the idea. Alternatively, you can just go the Zahak axe and just try to keep him alive, then something more defensive. I think someone was going even like Ares medium armor, which is craftable, that gives a lot of movement speed and only movement speed. So you just move him fast or move him fast with the cavalry units as well. I don't think it's super necessary, but it's possible. And with the new Axe of Swiftness or whatever it's called, the new legendary craftable, I feel like that's also a possibility. Like give him a lot of movement speed so he keeps up with the cavalry. I feel like that's also a possibility. And then of course you would put the Ice King's Greaves here. So yeah, that would be the possibility. So yeah. I said a few choices, okay? Tank damage for killing random units, and then of course running fast so he keeps up with cavalry units. But moving on. Bowmen. Okay, Bowmen, I have the longbow of Actaeon, sometimes switching with the Master Hunter. Arrows of the Piercing Frost, because honestly the best arrows you have. Okay, the Divine High Vizier, I forgot, it's now called Vishkanya Silk Lined Robes. It's the new name. But if I still use the Divine High Vizier, I mean this cloth armor, okay, the pure damage. And then Ashur's Gauntlets of the Solstice. Although I usually keep moving this item around, so it's not always there. But yeah, if I have the... I think I usually put this on like the throwing axemen, but whatever. Yeah, Bowmen generally, I don't really go with ranged units that often. Sometimes I go with like Bowmen plus the dogs. And so I would put like the Master Hunter bow here. You could go Marduk, but I feel like they attack so fast that Marduk is not that good on them in my opinion. But it is alternative as well. But yeah, again, focus, maximum range, damage. This one I just have Actaeon with slightly lower range, so it's more damage focused. with some anti-infantry. Sometimes I switch it for Master Assassin, and so it's more general build. So a lot of damage with some range. Usually I'm relying that I have some front line for them. So there's that. If I go just the dogs and pure ranged Bowman Death Bolt, then yes, I'll just go Master Hunter here. I just have this. As a Bowman, trying to do damage from distance. That's how I would describe it. So there's that. I feel like it's getting too hot in here already. Oof. There's not many units left, right? Oof. Fuck. Fudge. Fudge. Oh my god. Okay, that's Bowman. Okay, keeping this short. Yes. Focus on the damage, focus on the range. That's all I'm gonna say. Raiders. Tiberius, Rostam, Ashoka's Golden Gorget, and Master Assassin. Yes, Raiders with the Advisor H4 got a lot better. Like, who would have thought giving like 20% damage, crit chance, and health would make a unit good, right? Who would have thought? Oh my god. But yeah. Tiberius, because I want those raiders last as long as possible. Their base health is, I would say, it's okay for one pop unit, but because we're talking about cavalry unit, I just feel like you need to keep them alive for as long as possible. So Tiberius is my reason, because if there's a spearman and it hits the raider, I don't want the raider to die in like 2 or 3 hits. Okay, I want it to last like 5 at least. So that's my reasoning behind Tiberius. Rostam, because this is the ideal shield for melee damage dealing units. So raiders, ideal. Health is nice. Damage is really good. Crit chance is very good as well. Ashoka. Yeah, I think I'm usually going Ashoka these days because, again, this is the best damage I can get unless I go with Bahram's items, and I don't want to touch Bahram's items, okay? But yeah, this would be the cheaper alternative to the Bahram's items. If you don't want to get the Athena's Golden Gorget, the epic version of this item, which could take some time at MOS or trying to get the level, whatever it is, the highest. Is it 39 maybe? I don't know right now. But yeah, for damage, Ashokas. And then obviously Master Assassin for efficiency. Yeah, alternatively I could go with Sargon, so raiders just run by, take some damage from defensive structures, towers, TCs, fortresses, so pierce armor would make sense as well. So that would be my alternative. I don't think there's that many alternatives otherwise for this. I feel like that's how I would go raiders no matter what. There's no reason to go like more defensive because they don't have like super high HP, so no need to go with armor. I think this is fine. If I had to go alternative to Sargon, it would be like Minotaurs at best. But for raiders, I just feel like it's better to go with the damage. Moving on, Horsemen. Zahak's Heavy Spear, Garzhasp Golden Gorget, and Master Assassin. So Zahak is nice, although I feel like the Piercing Frost Heavy Spear is slightly better because I like the health a little bit more. And the Ignore Armor is definitely great for the late game. But Zahak in general should be fine in a lot of cases, in a lot of quests, so that's fine as well, whichever you prefer. If you don't have those event items, alternatively, I feel like Athena's Long Spear is easy to get, so you could be okay with that. But I feel like preferably Heavy Spear of Sacrifice. This one is more focused against the cavalry. Like damage is good, very good enough. Cavalry armor is very nice because usually when you go cavalry, what will you see? It will be spearmen and then the anti-cavalry units, which usually is the enemy cavalry unit, okay? So if you go against Greeks, it would be like Prodromos. If you go against, let's say, Celts, it would be the Horsemen. If you go against Norse, usually that will be their Horsemen, okay? So cavalry armor and the bonus versus cavalry is definitely going to be great there as well. So those would be my alternatives. So Zahak's Heavy Piercing Frost, yeah, heavy piercing frost and spear of sacrifice. Those would be my alternatives. I have the Guard's Hasp here for now, but I would say Ashoka's Golden Gorget if you want to go more the offensive build. Although I feel like I would prefer using Minotaurs here, to be honest. I feel like Minotaurs would make more sense. They don't need that pierce armor that much because they already have some base pierce armor. Though I think it's only 0.2. Let's start. Whatever. Sargon is also a good alternative, but I feel like Minotaur would make more sense on these guys. I need to get the Minotaur here. Do I have it? I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it. I have a lot of those Ice King armors here, I see. Not a fan of those, but it's there. And then, of course, Master Assassin. That would be the best choice. No alternatives there. So yeah, that's Horsemen. Okay, Farby orders. Now, these I've been experimenting a little bit. I have the Ras Remhead, the summer event Remhead. I have the Ras armor, the summer event armor, and then the Legion Enforcers wheels. So I have more focus on the health, and in this case it's focused more on the movement speed, which is very nice. Farby orders, like, for me in general, they have one weakness. Unlike any other battering ram unit, they get no snare immunity. Okay, they don't have the snare immunity, so when they get snared, they are slow. So I feel like it's just better to make them move faster at that point. Nah, just kidding. I just feel like they feel like a more general unit once you get the champion upgrade, because then they can attack normal units. And so I feel like instead of just going like your typical battering ram build, making them faster makes sense so they can reach the structures and just start hitting those structures. And it really works well with the Titus as well in H3, like making them move very fast. Oof. And it's definitely fun in some quests. So yeah, that's my focus here, the movement speed. If you don't want the Ras Remhead, then Remhead of Knum is also an alternative because of the maximum damage against buildings. This is just straight up focus damage against buildings, although it's up to you. If you already have the Remhead of Knum that has really good stats, then yes, you can keep that. If you don't have it, or you have really bad Remhead of Knum, then the Ras Remhead is, in my opinion, is better alternative. I just like this item, to be honest. Okay, Ras armor, health, movement speed. This build is just more focused on the movement speed, okay? So health, movement speed, very good health. Definitely like that. Movement speed is there. Critical hit chance, you would not believe it, but these guys actually can apply critical hits as well. It's just not so obvious as with the other units. They don't have the flashing light that would tell, hey, I just applied the critical hit chance, but they can. So critical hit chance is just a nice bonus. But yeah, again, focus on the health, which is very good, to be honest. Movement speed is very nice. And then Legion Enforcers. My big issues always with battering rams is that they have quite low health for a free pop unit. Like, you take a look at a lot of those rams, they usually have like 1000 health, like 1100 or something like that. With the Legion Enforcers wheels, okay? That's very low, like, for a free pop unit. And remember, they were a lot worse because they were very expensive, so it was like super annoying to even afford those battering rams. And them just dying to melee units, oh my god, it's not fun experience, okay? So I'm gonna stick with the Legion Enforcers wheels, although we now have the legendary wheels that give even more health. So yes, once I get the recipe and can afford those, I will definitely switch the Legion Enforcer wheels for those. Although I still don't like that they give like more than 50% health. I think in case of battering rams, I think that's fine to do, because battering rams I feel like deserve more health, to be honest. So they don't die so easily to enemy melee units. So definitely I'm gonna replace the wheels here. Okay, log throwers. Also, I forgot medium armor alternatives. Breastplate of Alexander, I feel like for if you want the health and damage, that should be fine. Otherwise, also for the head, you could use Scipio from the legendary Roman store for pierce armor. Although far builders, after the buff of the armor, they don't need it that much, but it is still an alternative. Other than that, you could go also the Athenian Ramhead, although I don't like that Ramhead that much. In case of far builders, it works because far builders can attack normal units. So general damage is pretty good on far builders once you get the champion upgrade. And same like with the medium armor, like I said, the breastplate of Alexander is there with the general damage, definitely works fine, but the lower health is something I don't like. Other than that, yeah, you can go like Delian Archon armor, just pure health, that's also possible. You could go with like Gilgamesh or Rostam if you want some melee armor as well. It's up to you, okay? Again, it's up to you, but this is my build. Lock Thrower, okay, Blessed Throwing Arm, Tears Magnificent Breastplate, Delian Adept's Wheels, although now you can get the Delian Archon's Wheel. This is just, again, it's a relic from the past, okay? Now you can get the legendary wheels from the Delian store. But they are the same item. Just one is rare, old, not available anymore, and the other one is new one that's available too. So yeah, Lock Throwers. Blessed Throwing Arm. I don't like the Dionysus's Blessed Throwing Arm because it offers better range, but at the same time I'm losing a lot of damage, and I just feel like Lock Throwers and Stone Throwers are more anti-unit focused than Palintones. Palintones are just straight up anti-buildings, while Throwers are still anti-buildings. I feel like they are better while fighting against enemy units. They are definitely better there. And so I feel like it's just better to give them more damage with a slight loss of range, just to make them better against the enemy units. And so they can do a lot of damage to enemy units, which definitely is gonna be noticeable against enemy infantry and cavalry, okay? I feel like that's what I like. Alternatively, you can go Marduk's Siege Arm, that should work as well. If you're using Timo, then it will definitely work really well together. Like, the attack rate is definitely nice, since throwers, let's be honest, if they attack, it hurts. So the more often they attack, more often it hurts. That's how I would say it. So yeah, this would be the alternative. You could go also the Seth's Throwing Arm from the Rakoti store. Just pure damage with some range. That should be fine as well, like as an alternative. But yeah, I still prefer to have some range, so I think Blessed Throwing Arm is the best option here. Tears Magnificent Breastplate, I could go something like Breastplate of Alexander for higher damage. I just feel like I still need the range to reach the enemy siege units and just destroy them from the distance safely. So I feel like the Blast Throwing Arm will just give me more damage than I would get, let's say, with the Dionysus's Blessed Arm and the Breastplate of Alexander. I feel like I would get more damage, and I feel like also more range with these two items. I feel like this is just better than Dionysus plus Alexander. Yeah, this is definitely better. This definitely feels better. And Delian Wheels, yes, maximum damage. That's what I'm doing. That's Lock Throwers. I don't think there's any other explanation needed. Okay, Rhapsod. Since this unit is, I would describe it the best out of combat healer. Like, Clinicus is best in combat healer, but Rhapsod is the best out of combat because it has very huge healing radius. It's very huge, like no other unit has such a big radius. So if you have like 2 Rhapsods, you heal a whole army without a problem, okay? And so, since Rhapsods are mainly healers, I have the Staff of Amenhotep, which focuses on the healing. Alternatively, you can go the Epic Craftable, which offers slightly less healing, but more movement speed, whichever you prefer. Both of these are very good. and in my opinion the best on Rhapsodists. I have the Set's Best Vest. If they take some damage from distance, yeah, I just want to make sure they survive for as long as possible. Alternatively, I could go with Ropes of Babylon, just make them cheaper, more affordable, and just keep them away from the combat. So that's also a possibility. I just want to make sure they survive. And Zack's Idol, obviously, health is very nice. Cost is very important in my opinion, because on priests usually cost over 100 gold. So the cost is definitely great there. But mainly health regen, if they take the damage, they can heal themselves without actually healing themselves, okay? The health regen should keep them alive, that's the main point. Alternatively, pure health is there, you can go with that. Or you can just go with the Tablet of the Dead and just faster production, that's also possible. If you keep them safe, you can do whatever you like, okay? So why not? But yeah, this is my build. Healing, very fast, keeping them alive, and slightly cheaper units. Moving on, long ships. So Bow of the Master Hunter, Common Taurus' Burning Arrows, Tryphon's Reinforced Sidings, and Hadad's Remarkable Hull. Although I don't remember, do I actually keep this other way around? I feel like I sometimes use the Actaeon, because usually I go mainly with the fire ships, so I don't use long ships that often, but sometimes I need the Master Hunter. I feel like I'm keeping this here. I don't remember. If I want to, I'll just switch it, whatever. But yeah, maximum range, once you have good amount of long ships, this is very good. Common Taurus is Burning Arrows, this is the best arrow. These are the best arrows for you available for your arrow ships when you're fighting mainly enemy ships, okay? If you want to fight enemy ships, you need Common Taurus' arrows for the best efficiency. Alternatively, you can go Piercing Frost as well, although it's not as efficient against enemy navy, but it will still offer really good value there. It's more focused against buildings, okay? If you are using arrow ships against buildings, then yes, Piercing Frost is there. Tryphon is there, maximum damage, trying to make sure they do as much damage as possible. Usually I go like few arrow ships and then just focus on the fire ships, okay? So for me, I don't really need the range here, but if you want to, you can definitely go with the, what's it called? The runic plating for maximum range, and just go a lot of arrow ships if you want to. And at that point, yes, Hadad's Remarkable Hull for as efficient arrow ships as you can get with the highest damage and health possible. Alternatively, if you're going for arrow ships only early, then you can go with Ashur's Rudder again. Much cheaper ships, they get out as fast as possible, and movement speed is nice. And since the long ships can serve as a transport, even better with the movement speed, okay? Faster transportation doesn't hurt. So yeah, we have alternatives here as well, again, whichever you prefer. Fire ships, Oil Flask of Hatshepsut, Armoring of Archimedes, Hanno's Heavy Hull. I don't think I need to repeat myself that much, just keep it short. Fire ships fight mainly enemy ships, so Oil Flask of Hatshepsut is the best item you can get when you're fighting enemy navy. So yes, this is the best I can get. Obviously there's Agni now, which I seriously hate as an item. I don't like it, but it's available. If you wanna give your fire ships huge range with huge damage, then definitely it's even better than this. I can definitely tell you it's gonna be better than this. Just having more fire ships attacking at the same time is definitely better than just straight up damage. But yeah, if you're looking for cheaper alternative, because that fire pod is just gonna cost you a lot of legendary materials, then Oil Flask of Hatshepsut is your choice. Okay, Armoring of Archimedes. I want my fire ships to survive as long as possible. Damage for them is usually not a problem, okay? So in this case, I'm trying to use the Archimedes. You don't need pierce armor that much, since ships start with good base pierce armor, so there's no real need. And when you consider like static defenses, towers, fortresses, and realize they do bonus against navy, fire ships get bonus damage protection from the champion. Okay, so even at that point, the enemy static defenses are not a big threat for your fire ships. But it is units like fire ships, ram ships, and the siege boats like ballista triremes and the catapult triremes. Those are the biggest threats. So I feel like the crush armor is the best you can get. That's my opinion. And then Hanos Heavy Hull, again, I'm trying to keep my fire ships alive for as long as possible. Plus, this is just a lot of health with no extra cost. No extra cost. So I'll keep the same price while having a lot of health. And if you compare it to like Harad's Remarkable Hull, like the value here, oh my god, it's even better, right? It looks like more stats with no extra cost. It's just so good. So yeah, those are my fire ships. Okay, Seer. Ahapitep's Solid Gold Staff, Amonet's Vest of Foresight, and Zahak's Idol. That's what I have here. So Ahapitep's Solid Gold Staff. Of course, the longest conversion range I can get, so that's why I have this here. Alternatively, you can go practically any other converting stuff. Beware, Seers cannot heal, so don't go the healing stuffs on them, okay? No healing stuff for Seer. Only conversion, so yes, Ahapiteps is there. You can go the converting stuff from the Roman store, you can go whichever epic stuff you drop. I think it's like Diamond Hermes or whatever it's called, or the Siege one. Yeah, basically converting stuff, whichever you prefer, that's up to you. I have the Amonet's Vest of Foresight. My idea about the Seer here is that their upgrade gives them extra line of sight. So I was thinking, you know what, let's use them as a scout. I think they can actually get really good line of sight value, so that's why I have this here. I don't think there's that many staffs or staves or whatever you pronounce it with line of sight. I don't think there's even any. I would have to check that, because that could maybe be another alternative. If there's a staff with line of sight, you could just make them into a scouting unit with huge line of sight. I kind of wish the line of sight was affecting the Ravens as well. That would be funny, but unfortunately not. But yeah, that's why I have the Vest of Foresight. Alternatively, yes, Robes of Babylon for cheaper cost, or just armor. Keep them alive. Zahak's Idol, make them cheaper, and in any case, just make sure they stay alive with the health regen. So there's that. I just feel like there's no better item than Zahak's Idol at this point. Although, that's actually true. We have the beads. Those are also a good alternative. If you can keep your priests away, then the beads would make sense, to be honest. As you make the priests a lot cheaper, and also you can produce them faster. That will make sense, yes. If you keep the priests safe, then beads actually make sense on both Seers and Rhapsodists here. Like, it would make perfect sense. You could get those as well, but those are expensive. Oof. Moving on, Throwing Axemen. We're almost at the end. Only 3 more units. Throwing Axemen. Axe of the Piercing Frost, Divine High Vizier, and the Master Assassin. Again, so Throwing Axemen are ranged unit. Not by type, but because they have range, okay? I mean by the range. They're infantry unit. They do melee infantry damage from a distance, which is very unique, okay? When you think about it, because of this, they actually do really well against buildings. If you consider any other ranged unit, like let's say I have Fedes and I can get like 100 DPS. Because of the building armor, that DPS goes down to 20 DPS. If I have throwing axemen that can get like 30 DPS, that throwing axemen is doing more damage than the Fedes. That's actually insane, right? one doing 100, but actually 20, and then the other one is just doing 30 and actually 30. Yeah, that's why I like throwing axemen. Like, they can be very good against buildings if you have like that critical mass. Unfortunately, you need to get close, unlike Fedes, so that's the disadvantage. And that's also a reason why like ranged units don't do that. Why there's a lot of pierce armor on the structures, because it's easy to get ranged units to attack the structures, like, or I should say, it's easy to get a lot of those ranged units to attack the structures. That's why the pierce armor here exists. From axemen still need to get quite close because they don't have that huge range. That's why I'm using the Piercing Frost Axe and combine it with Agwald H2 Advisor. So I can get actually a really good range on those throwing axemen. Early game it's not gonna be that useful, because you need that high number of throwing axemen to actually feel the value there. So it takes a while. This build is more focused on the late game, okay? So Piercing Frost is definitely good, but it does not help you that well in the early game. Again, like the range is gonna be more efficient once you have the high number of throwing axemen. The Igno armor portion here, again, it's not that useful until the enemy starts getting some number of armory upgrades. So at this point, yes, again, it's not that great. So what helps is the damage, which as you can see is quite low in comparison to other axes, like let's say double-edged. And then there's the snare, which helps to keep the distance, but at the same time, if you cannot kill them, well, what's the point of keeping them at the distance, right? So yeah, Piercing Frost Axe is definitely useful more in the late game. It makes this a little bit worse in the early game. So if you want a more early game focused throwing axemen for, let's say, defending against enemy units, then you can definitely go double-edged axe, which is definitely what you're gonna need. Like for the best damage value, double-edged is there, and I believe the critical hit chance was already fixed on them, so hopefully that should not be a problem. But yeah, double edge is there. You can go with like anti-infantry focused. I think there's like one called Executioners, but I think if you just go to the, what's it called, the Exquisite Epic Edges, and buy the axe there, then you should have good axe there as well, for more anti-infantry focus. You could also go with Zahak's Axe, that's also possible. As I said, they will do really well against buildings, but they need to get close. So they will definitely take some damage. Health regen helps there. And then also the bonus versus buildings with the damage from the Zahak's Axe is definitely gonna be valuable there. So you can do that as well. But what I like to do is just make them late game and just put the Piercing Frost there and just try to get as many of them out as possible. Yes, that's what I like to do. Obviously, with all the range you get, you can just put the Divine High Vizier or Vishkanya's Cloth Armor on them and just hope that the enemy units will not attack them from the distance, okay? But yeah, if you put this on them, they'll do great amount of damage once you have the champion upgrade, once you have like H4 with the Bjorn. With all the effects put together, they'll do a lot of damage. Like, against something like Legionary, it's beautiful, okay? That's definitely great, but again, it's not like the fastest way to play, okay? So if you're doing that, you'll be a little bit slower in clearing quests, okay? So careful with that. But yeah, it is definitely possible to do this here. If you wanna play it safe, then Kitten of the Wolf is the other alternative for throwing axemen. Of course, Master Assassin's Gauntlets. If you want more focus against something else, then we have the Ashur's or Ishtar's Gauntlets. Those are possible, although I think Ashur is just straight up better. If you had Ishtar, then you put it on the Spearmen. That's what I would say. So there's that. I don't think there's anything else to say about throwing axemen. So moving on, War Dogs. Heavy Spear of the Ice King, Sets Best West, and Greaves of the Ice King. Now, I have this one here because I just wanted to see that huge snare on those dogs. And it's definitely fun to see, like, when you have a cavalry unit usually moving at 12 speed and suddenly it's going down to 3. That looks funny. Oh boy, but don't do that, okay? It's not that necessary, okay? So, in my opinion, it's just better to focus on the health. And so you go, and I forgot which one it is. I think it's the one from Cyprus store, which gives you like 35% health, 35% damage. Yeah, dogs, just focus them on the health, okay? They will not do good amount of damage, no matter what. I think it's this one, right? Yes, Cyprus cohort. Okay, yeah, Cyprus. Yeah, Cyprus store. Right. I was correct. Yeah, so you can go this one, which makes a lot more sense, okay? You go this, you go Vemunder, H4, with Bowmen behind, maybe even log throwers. Man, I was doing that build with the log throwers. It was not the best, okay? That's not the best idea, but it should work. I think I had the wrong spear at the time. I don't remember. But yeah, if you have this spear, put it together with some more defensive cloth armor. Now this one depends what you're fighting against. You might prefer the set specifiers because pierce armor and melee infantry armor is there. You can, if you see a lot of crush damage or some crush damage, then you might prefer actually splash damage armor or crush cloth armor. Both of these should exist if I'm not mistaken. There's definitely the crush one, I think. I don't remember. To be honest, but yeah, the crush armor one should be definitely useful there as well. Pure health definitely helps. Yeah, basically anything defensive, whichever you prefer or could use in the quest, definitely is gonna be a great choice for your dogs. There's no other reason to like train dogs. They don't do enough damage. Although you can have a lot of them, they will die really fast. Especially without Ramunder, they will die anyway. And the Ice King's Greaves just, yeah, maximum health while also moving faster. Faster replacement. So that should be your choice as well. Yeah, just don't use this, okay? The Cyprus cohort heavy spear is your best friend there. Okay, so that's almost everything. Now there's a lot of structures. Again, I'll talk about those in other video. But moving on, the last unit, which is actually one of those first units you train, Spearmen. So I have the heavy spear of the piercing frost, sets kitten of the solstice, master assassin gauntlet. Now about these spearmen are one of the highest HP spearmen you will find actually. If I exclude advisors of course, because if we include advisors we have some other spearmen get there. But yeah, for HP the Norse spearmen are definitely like number one. They're like number one choice for HP. So piercing frost makes sense since it gives them nice damage. But most important, it gives them health, which is definitely nice. And the ignore armor is working really well, since what I sometimes like to do is grab Spearmen, grab throwing axemen, use Bjorn H4, and yes, just do Spearmen throwing axemen. Sometimes. I wasn't doing this lately. I should do that again sometime. Just not in the mood these days. Okay, but yeah. This is my choice. If you don't have this, alternatively you can go heavy spear of sacrifice, making the spearmen more focused against cavalry and just making them cavalry units anti-cavalry units in general. I think this should work fine. Alternatively, you can go like some damage health spears, like this one, but like with more damage, okay? But yeah, I think the Spear of Sacrifice is like the best alternative I can think of. I don't think there's anything better. Like, you could probably go also Zahak's Heavy Spear, that's also possible, but I don't think it's that needed. Or even that good. Like, yeah, you will get a lot of health, but they'll still die really fast in some units, okay? So careful with that. Yeah, Set's Kitten, this is more focused against cavalry. Obviously, you can go something like Set's Best Vest, Vest of Theseus, Actaeon, Pure Health, whichever you prefer. Just, I would say, go with the defensive ones more than anything like Kitten of the Wolf. I feel like because of the high health, it combines really well with armor, so using some cloth armor with armor stats should be more effective on these units. And then of course, Master Assassins for efficiency. Yes, we need to kill those enemy units as well, so we need some damage. But yeah, if you want more tank focus, then Ice King's Greaves are there. And there's that. Hopefully I did not miss anything. Hopefully I explained my ideas behind those units. And goddamn, I'm going for too long. And I'm starting to feel sick. Oh boy. So yeah, tell me what you think. Do you find some better alternatives for some units? Because I feel like that there are no better alternatives, and I try to mention as many as possible. Okay, so tell me, do you like this? Like, even these ideas like of mine behind these units, do you feel like there could be some better, different alternatives? Definitely there are alternatives, whichever you prefer. Like, nobody's stopping you from doing like putting here the summer sword and just make them the raiders like super anti-ranged. Although I don't like it because they already do really well against ranged units. I feel like that's already just straight up overkill, okay, if you think about it. I also have the piercing frost here ready just in case, but since raiders are cavalry, yeah, you don't need like ignore armor that much on cavalry units. That's my only consideration. In some cases it can be useful though. But yeah, tell me what you think. What other alternatives do you feel like I could consider or I missed? Tell me about them, because definitely there are many possibilities, of course, with all the gears available to us. Many possibilities. I just wish some pieces were better a little bit. Okay? But yeah, tell me what you think. Make sure to like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Okay, close this. Bye!